My sister sent wedding invites to everyone but me. Mom said, don't make her day about you. On the wedding day, my phone exploded with photos of chaos. Mom begged for help. I whispered, I shocked them all. Subscribe to the channel and like the video to see more stories like this shock. My sister sent out wedding invites to everyone except me. Mom said it's her day. Don't make it about you. I laughed, pretending it didn't hurt. On the wedding day, I stayed home until my phone blew up with photos of the groom grabbing her hair, people screaming, chaos everywhere. Mom called me in tears, begging for help. I just looked at my screen and whispered, I shocked them all. I'm Emma Richardson, 32 years old, and I've spent most of my life being invisible in my own family. My younger sister Victoria has always been the golden child, the beautiful one, the one who could do no wrong. Our mother Patricia made sure everyone knew it, including me. The wedding invitation situation started 3 months ago. I was at my small apartment in downtown Portland, working from home as a freelance graphic designer, when my cousin Diane called me. Emma, did you get your invitation yet? She asked, her voice bright with excitement. Invitation to what? I responded, genuinely confused. There was an uncomfortable pause. To Victoria's wedding. It's in June. The invitations went out last week. My stomach dropped. I walked to my mailbox that same afternoon, knowing I'd find nothing. I checked every day for a week. Nothing came. Meanwhile, my phone lit up with messages from relatives asking about my dress, whether I'd be bringing a date, if I was excited to be maid of honor. Maid of honor. The assumption was so natural to everyone. I was Victoria's only sister. Of course I'd be standing beside her on her big day, except I wasn't even invited. I finally called my mother. Mom, I haven't received Victoria's wedding invitation, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Oh, just that. A single syllable that told me everything. Did she forget to send mine? My mother sighed, that particular sound she made when I was being inconvenient. Emma, Victoria felt it would be better if the wedding party was kept small and intimate. She's only inviting people she's close to. The words landed like punches. We'd shared a room growing up. I'd helped her with homework, covered for her when she snuck out, loaned her money she never paid back, and now I wasn't close enough to attend her wedding. She invited Aunt Carol, I said quietly. She hasn't spoken to Aunt Carol in 5 years. That's different. Carol is family. So am I. Emma. Mom's voice took on that warning tone. This is Victoria's day. Her special moment. Don't make it about you and your feelings. She has enough stress without you causing drama. I sat in silence, phone pressed to my ear, processing what I'd just heard. My own mother was telling me that wanting to attend my sister's wedding was causing drama. Does she even want me there? I asked. Another pause. She thinks it's better if you stay home. You two have such different lives now, different circles. It might be awkward. Awkward. That was the word she chose. Not hurtful. Not cruel. Awkward. I understand, I lied. Over the next weeks, the family betrayal deepened. Relatives who'd received invitations would post about dress shopping, gift ideas, bachelor and bachelorette party plans. My younger cousin Madison, whom Victoria had bullied relentlessly in high school, got an invitation. My mother's book club friends got invitations. The neighbor who'd lived next door for 2 years got an invitation, but not me. I learned through Facebook that Victoria had chosen her college roommate as maid of honor, someone she'd known for 6 years. I'd known her for 26 years, since the day she was born. My father called once, just once. Emma, your mother tells me you're upset about the wedding. I'm hurt, Dad. There's a difference. Your sister is going through a lot right now. Planning a wedding is stressful. Try to be understanding. I am trying to understand why I'm the only family member not invited. Don't exaggerate. I'm sure she had her reasons. Did you ask what they were? He didn't answer that. Just give her space. This is her time to shine. Everyone in my family had chosen Victoria's feelings over mine. The message was clear. I didn't matter enough to fight for. I decided then I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't lead or argue or make myself smaller to deserve their love. I would simply accept what they'd shown me about my place in this family, and I would remember it. The weeks leading up to the wedding were torture. Social media filled with pre-wedding events I wasn't part of. Bridal shower photos, bachelorette party videos, Victoria glowing in white, surrounded by bridesmaids in matching robes. My absence was so glaring that some relatives started texting me, confused. Why weren't you at the bridal shower? My Aunt Jennifer messaged. Wasn't invited. I replied simply, what? That can't be right. But it was right. It was exactly right. Victoria had deliberately excluded me from every single wedding event, and my mother had supported her completely. 2 weeks before the wedding, Victoria finally called me, not to apologize or explain, to ask for a favor. Emma, I need your help with something. I waited. The wedding photographer is charging extra for editing, and I'm already over budget. You're good with Photoshop, right? Could you edit the photos after the wedding? The audacity stole my breath. She wanted me to work on wedding photos I wasn't invited to attend. Let me think about it, I said. I need to know soon. The wedding is in 2 weeks. I'm aware. She didn't catch the ice in my tone. Great. I'll send you the details after. Oh, and don't mention this to Mom. She thinks I'm being too cheap with the photographer. She hung up before I could respond. That night, I made a decision. I wouldn't attend the wedding, obviously, but I also wouldn't spend that day crying or feeling sorry for myself. I would do something else entirely. Something that would remind me I had value, even if my family couldn't see it. I booked myself a spa day at the most expensive resort in Portland. Full body massage, facial, manicure, pedicure, the works. I scheduled it for the exact time of Victoria's ceremony. While she was walking down the aisle surrounded by everyone but me, I would be choosing myself for once. The week of the wedding, my phone buzzed constantly with messages from relatives asking why I wouldn't be there. I gave the same answer to everyone. I wasn't invited. The reactions ranged from shock to disbelief. Some people thought I was joking. Others called my mother to verify. Apparently, several relatives relatives confronted her about it. Mom called me furious. Emma, what are you doing? Why are you telling everyone you weren't invited? You're embarrassing Victoria. I'm telling the truth. I received no invitation. You're making this a thing. You're creating drama right before her wedding. No, Mom. Victoria created this situation when she excluded me. I'm just being honest about it. You're being spiteful. I'm being honest. There's a difference. She hung up on me. The day before the wedding, Victoria texted me, heard you've been spreading lies about not being invited. Real mature Emma. This is why I didn't want you there. You always make everything about you. I stared at that message for a long time. The complete lack of self-awareness was almost impressive. She'd excluded me from her wedding, from every wedding event, hadn't explained or apologized, then had the nerve to blame me for the consequences. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. Wedding day arrived. Saturday, June 15th. A beautiful sunny day in Portland, perfect for an outdoor ceremony. I woke up, did yoga, made myself a nice breakfast, and prepared for my spa day. I'd turned off all notifications from family group chats. I didn't want to see photos of the wedding I was excluded from. I wanted one day where I chose peace over pain. At 10 in the morning, my spa appointment time, I was lying on a massage table, lavender oil warming my skin, soft music playing. The massage therapist worked on my shoulder tension while I consciously released years of family betrayal with each breath. Then my phone started ringing and ringing and ringing. I ignored it. This was my time, but it didn't stop. Call after call after call. Finally, the spa receptionist knocked on the door. Miss Richardson, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but someone named Diane has called 4 times. She says it's an emergency. My heart dropped. Emergency. Someone was hurt. Someone died. I wrapped myself in a robe and grabbed my phone. 17 missed calls, 32 text messages, all in the last 20 minutes. I opened Diane's messages first. Emma, call me now. Emma, please. Wedding disaster. Need you. My hands shook as I scrolled through messages from other relatives. Each one contained the same theme. Chaos, disaster, need help, and photos. So many photos. I opened the first one. It showed Victoria's outdoor wedding venue, white chairs scattered and overturned, flower arrangements trampled. In the center, a man I didn't recognize, Victoria's groom presumably, had his hand in Victoria's carefully styled hair, pulling. Her face was contorted in pain and rage. Around them, guests stood frozen in shock or were actively running away. The next photo showed the wedding cake, a 5-tiered masterpiece toppled onto the ground. The next showed Victoria's dress torn at the shoulder. The next showed the groom being restrained by groomsmen while Victoria screamed at him. I sat down slowly, phone clutched in my trembling hand, trying to process what I was seeing. My phone rang again. Mom, I answered. Emma. Her voice was pure panic. Emma, you need to come help. Right now. The wedding is ruined. Victoria needs you. Please. After weeks of being told I didn't matter, that I wasn't wanted, that asking to attend my own sister's wedding was causing drama, my mother was now begging me to fix the disaster. What happened? I asked calmly. The groom? There was some misunderstanding, and he got violent, and now everything is ruined, and Victoria is hysterical, and we need you to, I don't know, do something. You're good at fixing things. Good at fixing things. That's what I was to them. Not a daughter or sister worth inviting to family celebrations, just someone useful when things went wrong. Where are you? I asked. Still at the venue. Riverside Gardens. Emma, please hurry. I looked down at my spa robe, my bare feet, the peaceful room I'd chosen over their rejection. Mom, I said softly, I'm at a spa. I have a facial scheduled in 20 minutes. Silence. Then, what? You told me to stay home, to not make Victoria's day about me. So I made today about me instead. I'm having a spa day. Emma, this isn't the time. You're right. It's not the time. It's Victoria's time. Her special day. And as you all made very clear, I'm not part of it. Emma, please. She needs her sister. Those words. After everything. She needs her sister. She had her sister. I said quietly. She chose not to invite her. That was her choice. Now she gets to live with it. I ended the call. My phone exploded with messages. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all begging me to come help, to fix whatever had gone wrong, to save Victoria's wedding. Not one of them had defended me when I was excluded. Not one had questioned why I wasn't invited. But now, in crisis, suddenly I mattered. I turned my phone to silent mode, handed it to the receptionist, and returned to my massage. Everything okay? The therapist asked gently. I closed my eyes and smiled. Everything is perfect. My spa day continued in blissful silence. 3 hours of massage, facial treatments, and aromatherapy, while my family dealt with whatever karma had delivered to Victoria's wedding. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. When I finally retrieved my phone at 2 in the afternoon, I had 63 missed calls and over 100 text messages. I scrolled through them slowly, piecing together what had happened. Apparently, Victoria's groom, Trevor Mitchell, had discovered something during the ceremony, something that made him lose control completely. The details were scattered across panicked messages, but the story emerged. Trevor had received an anonymous text during the vows, a text with photos of Victoria with another man, recent photos based on her hair color, which she'd changed just last month for the wedding. The man in the photos was identified by several relatives as Marcus Chen, Victoria's ex-boyfriend from college, the same Marcus who'd broken her heart 5 years ago, the same Marcus she'd sworn she was over, the same Marcus who, according to the photos, she'd been seeing up until 2 days before the wedding. Trevor had apparently tried to stay calm during the ceremony. He'd made it through the vows, through the ring exchange, but when the minister said, "You may kiss the bride," something in him snapped. Instead of kissing her, he'd grabbed her hair and demanded the truth in front of 200 guests. Victoria, cornered and humiliated, had done the worst possible thing. She'd admitted it. She'd screamed that yes, she'd been seeing Marcus, that she loved him, that she'd only stayed with Trevor because he had money and stability, because her mother had pushed her toward a good match. The wedding had dissolved into chaos. chaos. Trevor's family had stormed out. Victoria's bridesmaids had stood frozen, unsure whether to comfort her or condemn her. My mother had apparently fainted, requiring medical attention. My father had tried to salvage something, anything, by suggesting they could work through this, but Trevor had simply walked away, leaving Victoria in her $1,000 dress, screaming after him. I read all of this while sitting in the spa's relaxation room, sipping cucumber water, wrapped in a plush robe. My cousin Diane's messages were the most detailed. Emma, it's worse than we thought. Victoria had been planning to break up with Marcus and marry Trevor anyway. Marcus found out and sent the photos to Trevor as revenge. But here's the thing. Victoria told Trevor she'd stopped seeing Marcus 3 months ago. She lied. The photos prove she saw him last week. Trevor is devastated. His family is threatening to sue for the wedding costs they covered. It's a nightmare. A nightmare. Victoria's perfect day had become her worst nightmare. And somewhere in the universe, karma was laughing. Around 3 o'clock, my mother called again. I debated not answering, but curiosity won. Emma, her voice was hoarse, probably from crying. Where are you? I told you. Spa day. Are you still there? Just finished. Heading home now. Come to the house, please. Victoria needs you. There it was again. Victoria needs you. As if need was a magic word that erased weeks of deliberate cruelty. No, Mom. I'm going home to my apartment. Alone. Emma, how can you be so heartless? Your sister's world is falling apart. My sister's world fell apart because of her own choices. I had nothing to do with it. She made a mistake. People make mistakes. You need to forgive her. I stopped walking, stood still on the Portland sidewalk, phone pressed to my ear, processing what I'd just heard. Forgive her for what exactly? I asked slowly. For cheating on her fiancé? That's between them. For excluding me from her wedding? That's between us. And she hasn't apologized for that, so there's nothing to forgive yet. Oh, for God's sake, Emma. You're still hung up on the invitation? Your sister's wedding just fell apart in front of 200 people and you're worried about an invitation? No, Mom. I'm not worried about anything. I'm at peace. I chose to use today to take care of myself instead of watching from the sidelines while everyone celebrated a sister who couldn't be bothered to include me. Turns out that was the right choice. You're enjoying this. Her voice turned accusatory. You're happy Victoria's suffering. I'm not happy about anything related to Victoria. I'm neutral. Completely neutral. Her drama is not my problem. Family is supposed to support each other. You're absolutely right. Family is supposed to support each other. Where was my family's support when I was excluded? When I was told not to make Victoria's day about me? When I was called dramatic for having feelings about being the only relative not invited? Silence on the other end. That's what I thought. I continued. You want support when it's convenient, when you need something. But when I needed basic respect and inclusion, none of you could be bothered. So no, Mom. I won't be coming to the house. I won't be fixing Victoria's mess. I won't be playing the role of supportive sister to someone who didn't want me at her wedding. Emma, I need to go. My cab is here. I hung up and blocked her number. Then I blocked Victoria's number. Then I blocked my father's number. I kept Diane and a few cousins unblocked, but everyone else got shut out. The toxic family dynamics had to end somewhere. Might as well be now. Back at my apartment, I ordered Thai food, opened a bottle of wine, and turned on Netflix. My phone continued buzzing with blocked calls and messages, but I ignored all of it. This was my evening, my peace. Around 7, Diane called. Emma, I need to tell you something, she said without preamble. What? Trevor's sister Amanda just posted on Facebook. She's exposing everything. Photos of the texts Trevor received, screenshots of messages between Victoria and Marcus, everything. It's going viral. The whole family is being dragged. I pulled up Facebook on my laptop. Sure enough, Amanda Mitchell had posted a lengthy message titled "The Truth About Today's Wedding Disaster." It included photos of Victoria and Marcus together, dated throughout her engagement to Trevor. Screenshots of Victoria telling Marcus she'd leave Trevor after the wedding once she secured his name and money. Screenshots of Marcus asking Victoria to choose and Victoria saying she couldn't give up Trevor's wealth. Screenshots of Victoria telling Marcus that Trevor was boring but stable, while Marcus was exciting but broke. The post had been shared 300 times already. Comments flooded in, mostly condemning Victoria. Some defended her, saying everyone makes mistakes, but the majority were brutal. Your mother is losing her mind, Diane continued. She's trying to get Amanda to take it down, but Amanda refuses. She says Trevor's family deserves justice after spending $40,000 on this wedding. $40,000. Trevor's family had invested that much in a marriage that lasted exactly 0 days. There's more, Diane said hesitantly. Some people are noticing you weren't in any of the wedding photos. They're asking questions. Your Aunt Jennifer posted asking why you weren't there, and your mom replied that you were sick. But I saw your Instagram story from the spa. Emma, people are starting to realize you were deliberately excluded. I hadn't thought about that. I'd posted a few innocent spa day photos, just simple shots of my cucumber water and the relaxation room. Nothing about the wedding, just me enjoying my day. Let me guess, I said. Now people are connecting the dots. Yeah, and they're not happy with Victoria. There are comments like she excluded her own sister but invited people she barely knows, and no wonder the marriage fell apart. She doesn't value family. It's getting ugly. Good, I thought but didn't say. Let them see who Victoria really was. I'm not taking down my Instagram story, I told Diane. I did nothing wrong. I'm not asking you to. Honestly, I think people need to see the truth. Victoria has gotten away with a lot because she's pretty and charming, but she's not a good person, Emma. Today proved that. We talked for another 20 minutes. Diane filled me in on more details. Trevor had left with his family immediately after the confrontation. They'd checked out of their hotel and driven back to Seattle that same day. Victoria had locked herself in her childhood bedroom and wouldn't come out. My mother was fielding calls from angry relatives who'd traveled for the wedding. My father was trying to recover deposits deposits from vendors. The revenge story was unfolding exactly as karma intended. Around 9 that night, someone knocked on my apartment door. I checked the people and saw Victoria standing there, still in her wedding dress, mascara streaked down her face, hair tangled where Trevor had grabbed it. I didn't open the door. She knocked again. Emma, I know you're home. I can see your lights on. Please, I need to talk to you. I remained silent, standing on the other side of the door, watching through the people as my sister, who'd excluded me now, begged for my attention. Emma, please. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You were right about everything. I was terrible to you. I should have invited you. I was jealous and petty and I took you for granted. Please let me in. Please. The apology I'd waited months for was finally here, but it was too late, and it came only because she needed something from me, not because she genuinely regretted hurting me. Emma, she pounded on the door now. Don't do this. Don't abandon me when I need you. That's not who you are. Actually, it was exactly who I was now. Someone who'd learned that family meant nothing if they only valued you when they needed something. After 10 minutes of knocking and pleading, Victoria finally left. I watched through the people as she shuffled away in her ruined dress, shoulders shaking with sobs. I should have felt guilty. Part of me expected to feel guilty, but all I felt was relief that I'd held my boundary. The next morning, I woke to find that Amanda Mitchell's post had been shared over 1,000 times. Local news outlets had picked up the story. Portland wedding ends in chaos after groom discovers bride's infidelity, read one headline. Another. Bridezilla exposed. Social media reveals elaborate deception. Victoria's face was everywhere. Screenshots of her messages to Marcus. Photos of her with both men. The narrative had solidified. She was a gold digger who'd tried to have both financial security and passionate romance, and it had spectacularly backfired. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Jennifer, Victoria's former maid of honor. I wanted you to know I quit the wedding party last night. When I found out you weren't invited and saw how Victoria treated Trevor, I realized she's not someone I want in my life. I'm sorry you were excluded. You deserved better. More messages like that followed throughout the day. Former friends of Victoria, relatives, even some of Trevor's family members reaching out to express sympathy for me and disgust at Victoria's behavior. The most surprising message came from Marcus Chen himself. Hi Emma, we've never met, but I wanted to apologize. I sent those photos to Trevor out of anger, but I didn't think about how it would affect others. I heard you weren't even invited to the wedding, and I'm sorry your family put you through that. For what it's worth, Victoria talked about you sometimes. She was jealous of how independent and successful you are. I think that's why she pushed you away. Jealous. That word again. Multiple people had now suggested that Victoria's cruelty stemmed from jealousy. It was a pattern I'd never fully recognized before. Around noon, my father showed up at my apartment. Unlike Victoria, I let him in. He looked exhausted, 10 years older than yesterday. Emma, we need to talk. About what? About what happened yesterday. About Victoria. About this family. I waited, arms crossed, giving him nothing. Your mother and I, we made mistakes. We favored Victoria. We always have. It was wrong. He ran his hand through his graying hair, but she was younger, more fragile. You were always so strong, so capable. We thought you didn't need as much attention, so you gave me none. That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time you came to my apartment just to visit? When was the last time you called to ask about my life, my work, my happiness? When was the last time either of you chose me over Victoria? He couldn't answer. You chose her beauty over my substance, her demands over my needs, her drama over my peace. And when she excluded me from her wedding, you supported her. You told me not to make her day about me, as if wanting basic inclusion was selfish. We were wrong, he admitted quietly. I see that now. Your mother sees it too, even if she won't admit it yet. Too late, Dad. The damage is done. It's never too late for family. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Yes, it is. Family isn't blood, it's behavior, and your behavior has shown me exactly where I stand, dead last. He left 20 minutes later, defeated and sad. I felt no victory in that conversation, just emptiness where family loyalty used to be. That evening, I received a call from Trevor. Diane must have given him my number. Emma, hi. I hope you don't mind me calling. It's fine. How are you holding up? I've been better. He laughed without humor. I wanted to thank you. For what? For not being at that wedding. My sister told me you were deliberately excluded. If you'd been there, supporting Victoria, I might have gone through with it. Might have convinced myself the photos were fake or old or something. But the fact that she couldn't even treat her own sister with basic respect, that helped me see who she really is. We talked for almost an hour. Trevor was actually a decent guy, thoughtful and kind. He told me about the red flags he'd ignored, the ways Victoria had manipulated him, the money he'd spent trying to make her happy. She wanted a $50,000 wedding, he said. I spent $40,000, which was already more than I could afford. She complained it wasn't enough, said her friends were having bigger weddings. Nothing was ever enough for her. By the end of our conversation, I had a strange new friend in Trevor Mitchell. We agreed to get coffee sometime. Two people bonded by Victoria's betrayal. 3 days after the wedding disaster, my mother appeared at my apartment without warning. I opened the door to find her standing there. No makeup, eyes red and swollen, looking more vulnerable than I'd ever seen her. Can I come in? She asked, voice small. I stepped aside, let her enter, didn't offer comfort. She sat on my couch, hands twisted in her lap, silent for a long moment. Then, I owe you an apology. A real one. I waited. I failed you as a mother. I chose Victoria's feelings over yours, over and over, for your entire life. I told myself it was because she needed more support, but the truth is, I liked being needed by her. She made me feel important. You were always so independent, so capable. You didn't need me the same way. And instead of being proud of that, I resented it. I punished you for being strong. Tears rolled down her cheeks, and for the first time in my memory, I didn't move to comfort her. When Victoria decided not to invite you to the wedding, I should have fought her on it. it. I should have demanded she include you. Instead, I supported her decision because it was easier than confronting her, and I told myself you'd be fine, because you're always fine. I'm not always fine, Mom. I just learned not to show you when I wasn't, because you never cared. She flinched. You're right, and I'm so sorry. What do you want from me? I asked directly. Forgiveness. A chance to rebuild. I looked at this woman who'd given birth to me but had never truly seen me. I don't know if I can forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I understand, but I'll consider allowing you back into my life on my terms, with boundaries. And the first boundary is this. I will never again be asked to prioritize Victoria's feelings over my own. If you can't respect that, we have nothing further to discuss. She nodded, wiping her eyes. I can do that. We'll see. She left shortly after, and I sat alone in my apartment, processing everything. The wedding disaster had exposed years of toxic family dynamics, forced everyone to see the truth they'd been avoiding. Victoria wasn't the perfect golden child. I wasn't the difficult one for having boundaries. Our family had been broken for a long time, and it had taken a spectacular public failure to make everyone acknowledge it. My phone buzzed with a text from Diane. FYI, Victoria moved back in with your parents. Trevor's family is suing her for fraud and emotional distress. She's basically in hiding. How do you feel about all this? I typed back. I feel like karma works exactly as it should, and for the first time in my entire life, I meant it. The week following the wedding disaster brought revelations I never expected. Trevor's lawsuit against Victoria wasn't just about emotional distress. His lawyers had uncovered a pattern of financial manipulation that went back to the beginning of their relationship. Diane forwarded me the legal documents. Victoria had convinced Trevor to put her name on several credit cards, which she'd maxed out buying designer clothes and jewelry. She'd taken out a personal loan in his name without his knowledge. She'd even forged his signature on documents co-signing for a luxury car she claimed was for their future together. The total damage, $97,000. Trevor hadn't known about most of it until his lawyer started digging. Victoria had been intercepting bank statements, hiding bills, creating elaborate lies about her spending. The wedding was supposed to be her final score before she either settled into married life with access to his accounts or found a way to leave with as much as she could take. Jesus, I whispered, reading through the documentation. My sister wasn't just a cheater. She was a con artist. My mother called that evening, her voice shaking. Emma, did you know about Victoria's debts? I just found out today. Trevor's lawyer sent everything to Diane. They're going to destroy her. The lawsuit, the criminal investigation for fraud, everything. She could go to jail. I felt nothing. No sympathy, no horror, just cold detachment. She destroyed herself, Mom. These were her choices. But she's your sister. She was my sister. Past tense. The Victoria I knew died the day she decided I wasn't worth a wedding invitation. Silence stretched between us. Then quietly, when did you become so hard? I'm not hard. I'm protected. There's a difference. And I learned it from being soft for too long with people who took advantage of that. Mom hung up without saying goodbye. The following day, Marcus Chen reached out again, this time asking to meet in person. Curiosity won over caution, and I agreed to coffee at a neutral location. He was handsome in that effortless way some men are, with dark hair and intelligent eyes that actually seemed to see me as I walked up. He stood when I arrived, shook my hand formally. Thank you for meeting me, he said as we sat. I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure I would either, but I figured why not? Everyone else in this drama has invaded my life. Might as well meet the catalyst. He winced. I deserve that. I handled everything badly. The photos, the timing, the public humiliation. I was angry and hurt, and I wanted Victoria to feel what I'd been feeling. I didn't think about collateral damage. Like Trevor, like you, like everyone who got caught in the blast radius. He stirred his coffee absently. Victoria told me about you once. We were lying in bed, middle of the night. One of those conversations where people say things they shouldn't. She said she envied you. That word again. Envied. Why would she envy me? She was the favorite, the beautiful one, the one who got everything she wanted. Marcus shook his head. That's what she wanted people to think. But in private, she'd talk about how you built a real life for yourself. Real work, real independence, real substance. She said she'd spent so long being pretty and charming that she'd never developed anything real underneath, and it terrified her. I processed this, trying to reconcile the Victoria I knew with this vulnerable version Marcus described. She said the worst part was knowing that when people looked at you, they saw someone solid, someone real. When people looked at her, they saw a pretty face and nothing else. She hated that you didn't need anyone while she needed everyone. So she punished me for it. Yes, and I'm sorry I helped her do that by sending those photos. I wanted revenge on her, but I didn't realize how many people I'd hurt in the process. We talked for over an hour. Marcus explained how Victoria had contacted him 6 months into her engagement to Trevor, claiming she'd made a mistake, that she still loved him, that she wanted to try again. He'd been skeptical, but couldn't resist. The affair had continued for months, with Victoria swearing she'd leave Trevor as soon as the timing was right. But the timing was never right, Marcus said bitterly. There was always some reason she couldn't leave. Trevor's promotion, the apartment lease, wedding deposits. I finally realized she had no intention of choosing me. She wanted both of us, the stability and the passion. She wanted everything without consequences. Welcome to Victoria's world, I said, where other people exist to serve her needs, and she genuinely doesn't understand why that's wrong. Marcus nodded slowly. I see that now. I didn't want to see it before. Love makes you stupid, or willfully blind. As we parted ways, Marcus said something that stayed with me. For what it's worth, Victoria's biggest fear was becoming you. Independent, self-sufficient, not needing anyone. She saw it as lonely, but watching you handle all this with such grace, I think she was wrong. You're not lonely. You're free. Free. That word resonated deep deeper than he could know. 2 weeks after the wedding, the local news ran a feature story on the disaster. They'd interviewed Trevor's sister, Amanda, who provided receipts of everything: Victoria's messages, the financial fraud, the double life. The segment was titled, "When Picture-Perfect Weddings Hide Ugly Truths." Victoria's face was broadcast across Portland. Comments flooded in from people who'd gone to high school with her, worked with her, dated her. Pattern after pattern emerged. She manipulated, she lied, she used people and discarded them when they were no longer useful. Someone dug up her college disciplinary record, where she'd been caught plagiarizing a paper. Another person shared screenshots of Victoria asking to copy their work in a professional certification course. A former roommate described how Victoria had stolen money from her wallet repeatedly, always with elaborate excuses. The woman being exposed wasn't the sister I'd grown up with, or maybe she was, and I'd just been too close to see it. My father called, desperate. "Emma, you need to help her. This has gone too far. She's being crucified online. She can't leave the house without people recognizing her and saying terrible things. What do you want me to do about it? Issue a statement. Defend her. You're the only family member who comes out of this looking good. If you vouch for her, it might turn the tide." I almost laughed. "You want me to defend the woman who excluded me from her wedding? Who spent years treating me like I don't exist? Who's now revealed to be a fraud and a thief? Why would I do that? Because she's family. So am I, Dad. But that didn't stop her from treating me like garbage. I'm not saving her reputation when she never cared about mine. Emma, please. Your mother is beside herself. Victoria won't eat, won't sleep. She's having panic attacks. This is destroying her." Good. The word came out before I could stop it. Cold and final. Dad's voice turned hard. "I thought you were better than this. I am better than this. That's why I'm not going to lie to protect someone who doesn't deserve protection. Victoria made her choices. Now she gets to live with them, just like I had to live with being excluded from her wedding." He hung up on me. That night, lying in bed, I had my first moment of doubt. Was I being cruel? Should I feel more sympathy for Victoria's suffering? Was family supposed to mean unconditional support even when they'd shown you none? I called Diane. "Am I being too harsh?" I asked without preamble. "No," she said immediately. "You're being appropriately boundaried with someone who hurt you repeatedly and never apologized until she needed something from you. That's not harsh. That's healthy. Everyone's acting like I should forgive and forget. Everyone wants you to make their lives easier by pretending Victoria's behavior was acceptable. It wasn't. And you refusing to enable her doesn't make you the bad guy. It makes you the only honest person in this family." Her words settled something in me. I wasn't being cruel. I was being truthful. 3 weeks post-wedding, Victoria attempted suicide. My mother's call came at 2 in the morning. She took pills. They pumped her stomach. "She's alive, but Emma, you need to come. You need to tell her you forgive her. She keeps saying she can't live with everyone hating her." I drove to the hospital in a daze, guilt and anger warring in my chest. The psychiatric ward smelled of antiseptic and desperation. Victoria looked tiny in the hospital bed, her face pale without makeup, her hair lank and unwashed. She didn't look at me when I entered, just stared at the ceiling, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. "Victoria," I said softly. "I thought dying would be easier than living with what I've become," she whispered. "Everyone hates me. Trevor hates me. Marcus hates me. Mom and Dad can barely look at me. And you hate me most of all." "I don't hate you." "Yes, you do. And you should. I destroyed everything. My wedding, my reputation, my relationships, all of it. Because I was greedy and stupid and so selfish." She finally looked at me, her eyes red and swollen. "I excluded you because I was jealous. Marcus was right. I envied everything about you. Your independence, your strength, your ability to be happy without needing constant validation. I wanted to hurt you because you had something I could never have: self-respect." There it was, the truth, raw and ugly, delivered from a hospital bed after a suicide attempt. "I'm sorry," she continued. "I know it doesn't fix anything. I know it's too late. But I'm sorry for all of it. For excluding you, for taking you for granted, for being a terrible sister. You deserved so much better than what I gave you." I sat in the chair beside her bed, processing her words. This was the apology I'd wanted for months, but it came wrapped in so much pain and destruction that it felt hollow. "I accept your apology," I finally said, "but I can't forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. What you did wasn't just about the wedding. It was about years of treating me like I was less important, less worthy of love and respect. That doesn't go away because you finally admitted it." She nodded, tears flowing freely now. "I understand. But," I continued, "I don't hate you, and I don't want you dead. I want you to get help. Real help. Therapy, accountability, growth. Not for me or for anyone else. For you. Because right now, you're a person who takes and gives nothing back, and that's not sustainable. How do I fix it?" "I don't know. That's your work to do, not mine." We sat in silence for several minutes. Then Victoria asked quietly, "Will you ever be able to be my sister again?" I considered the question honestly. "I don't know. Maybe. If you do the work and become someone worth having a relationship with. But that's years away, Victoria. You can't undo a lifetime of damage in a few conversations." "I know." I left the hospital as the sun rose, feeling simultaneously lighter and heavier. Victoria's suicide attempt had shaken me, forced me to examine whether my boundaries had become cruelty. But I'd realized something important. Her mental health wasn't my responsibility. Her choices, her pain, her growth, all of it was hers to manage. I could offer support from a distance, but I couldn't fix her. She had to fix herself. The lawsuit proceeded despite Victoria's hospitalization. Trevor's lawyers were unmoved by her mental state, arguing that she'd caused his mental anguish and financial ruin without remorse. The case would take months to resolve, but the outcome seemed inevitable. Victoria would lose everything. My mother stopped calling me every day. The desperate pleas for help turned into weekly check-ins, then monthly. She was learning, slowly, that I wouldn't be manipulated by guilt. My father sent me a letter, handwritten, apologizing for enabling Victoria's behavior and dismissing mine. He acknowledged that they'd created a monster by never holding her accountable, and now they were all paying the price. I kept a letter but didn't respond. Some wounds needed time before they could even begin to heal. 1 month after the wedding disaster, I ran into Jennifer, Victoria's former maid of honor, at a coffee shop. She'd gained weight, looked healthier somehow, less stressed. "Emma, hi," she said warmly. "I've been meaning to reach out. How are you?" "Surprisingly okay," I admitted. "You?" "Better than I've been in years, honestly. Cutting Victoria out of my life removed so much toxic stress I didn't even realize I was carrying. She was exhausting." We sat together, and Jennifer told me stories I'd never heard. How Victoria had sabotaged Jennifer's relationships because she didn't want competition for attention. How she'd spread rumors about mutual friends. How she'd borrowed money and never paid it back, always with elaborate excuses. "I stayed friends with her because we'd been friends since college," Jennifer explained. "But watching what she did to you, to Trevor, to everyone, I realized friendship isn't obligation. It's mutual respect, and she had none." More stories emerged over the following weeks. Victoria's toxic behavior had touched dozens of lives, but most people had stayed silent to avoid drama. Now, freed by the public exposure, they were sharing their experiences, not vengefully, but with relief, like people who'd escaped a cult finally able to speak truth. My phone buzzed with a text from Trevor. "Coffee this week? I have news." We met at our regular spot, a quiet cafe near my apartment that had become our neutral territory. "I dropped a lawsuit," he said without preamble. I stared at him. "Why?" "Because I realized I was doing it out of anger, not justice. Victoria's already destroyed. She lost her job, her reputation, her friends. She attempted suicide. Continuing to crush her won't give me back the money or the year I wasted. It'll just make me bitter." "That's incredibly mature of you," he shrugged. "Or incredibly stupid. My family is furious, but I need to move forward, and holding on to revenge was keeping me stuck." He paused. "Besides, I've got something better to focus on now." "What's that?" "You, maybe? If you're interested." I blinked, surprised. "Trevor, I don't think that's a good idea." "Because of Victoria?" "Because we're both still processing trauma she caused. Starting something now would be reactive, not genuine." He nodded thoughtfully. "You're probably right, but maybe in 6 months, after we both healed, we could revisit the idea?" "Maybe," I agreed, smiling despite myself. "Let's see who we are when we're not defined by Victoria's chaos." As I walked home that evening, I realized something profound. I was building a life completely separate from my family's drama. A life where I chose who got access to me, where boundaries were respected, where my peace mattered more than anyone's convenience. The wedding disaster hadn't destroyed me. It had freed me. And that freedom, I was discovering, was worth every painful moment that led to it. 6 months after the wedding disaster, I received an unexpected call from Victoria's therapist. She wanted to arrange a family therapy session with Victoria, my parents, and me. Victoria had been in intensive treatment, both inpatient and outpatient, working through her behavioral patterns and addiction to validation. "She's made significant progress," Dr. Sarah Chen explained, "but part of her healing involves making amends to the people she's hurt. She specifically asked to meet with you first before approaching anyone else. She says you're the person she wronged most deeply." I hesitated. 6 months of peace had been transformative. My graphic design business had grown substantially after I'd redirected the energy I'd been wasting on family drama into my work. I'd started dating casually, nothing serious yet, but enjoying connections with people who valued me. My apartment had become a genuine sanctuary rather than a hiding place. "I need to think about it," I told Dr. Chen. "Of course, take your time. Victoria understands this is entirely your choice." That evening, I met Diane for dinner. She'd become my closest family connection, the one person who'd consistently supported me throughout everything. "What do you think?" I asked after explaining the therapy request. Diane considered carefully. "What do you want to get from it?" "I don't know. Closure, maybe? Understanding? Do you need those things from Victoria, or have you already found them on your own?" The question hit something deep. I'd spent the past 6 months building a life I was genuinely proud of. I'd established boundaries with my parents, seeing them once a month for brief, structured visits. I'd declined every request to help Victoria or intervene in her legal troubles. I'd chosen myself consistently, perhaps for the first time in my life. "I think I've already found them," I admitted. "Then the real question is, will seeing Victoria help you, or will it set you back?" I thought about that for days. Finally, I agreed to one session, with conditions. It would be only Victoria and me, no parents initially. It would be in Dr. Chen's office, neutral territory, and I could leave at any time without explanation or guilt. The session was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon. I dressed carefully that morning, choosing clothes that made me feel confident and strong. I drove to Dr. Chen's office in downtown Portland, parking in the lot and taking several deep breaths before entering. Victoria was already there, sitting in the waiting room. She'd changed dramatically. The polished, Instagram-perfect version of herself had vanished. She wore simple jeans and a sweater, minimal makeup, hair pulled back in a plain ponytail. She'd gained some weight, looked healthier somehow, more solid. She stood when she saw me, nervousness evident in every movement. "Emma, thank you for coming." I nodded, but didn't speak. Dr. Chen ushered us into her office, a comfortable room with soft lighting and neutral colors. We sat in chairs positioned at an angle, close enough to talk, but with space between us. "Victoria," Dr. Chen began, "you've prepared some things you wanted to share with Emma. Whenever you're ready." Victoria took a shaky breath. "I've spent 6 months in therapy, working through why I became the person I was. The person who excluded you from my wedding, who took you for granted, who treated you like you existed solely to serve my needs." She looked directly at me now, tears already forming. "I have a personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder. It's not an excuse but it's an explanation. I genuinely could not see other people as fully real. You were all just supporting characters in my story. I sat silently, processing this clinical explanation for years of pain. The wedding disaster, losing everything, the suicide attempt, all of it forced me to see what I'd refused to see before. I was destroying everyone around me. Trevor, Marcus, you, Mom, and Dad. I used people up and threw them away without remorse because I literally didn't understand that your feelings were as real and important as mine. Do you understand it now? I asked quietly. I'm learning to. Every day. It's work, constant work, to remember that other people's internal experiences are just as valid as mine. That when I hurt you, it caused real pain, not just inconvenience to me. Dr. Chen interjected gently. Victoria, why don't you share what you wrote about Emma specifically? Victoria pulled out a folded paper from her pocket, hands shaking. I made a list of every significant time I hurt you that I can remember. There are 43 items on this list. 43 times I deliberately or carelessly caused you pain. She began reading. Each item was a small knife. The time I told Mom you were boring at family dinner when you were 15. The time I borrowed your car without asking and returned it empty. The time I told your boyfriend you'd cheated when you hadn't. The time I used your credit card without permission. The time I ruined your college graduation by throwing a tantrum about my high school drama. On and on. 43 betrayals. Some I'd remembered, others I'd suppressed. By the time she finished, tears were streaming down both our faces. The wedding invitation was number 43, she concluded. The culmination of 26 years of treating you like you were disposable. And I'm so deeply sorry, Emma. Not because everything fell apart and I faced consequences. I'm sorry because you deserved a sister who cherished you. And instead, you got me. Silence filled the room. Dr. Chen waited patiently while I processed everything. What do you want from me? I finally asked. Forgiveness? Reconciliation? Nothing, Victoria said, surprising me. I want nothing from you. This isn't about me getting something. It's about you hearing that I see now what I couldn't see before, that I acknowledge the damage I caused, that you were right to cut me off, to refuse to save me, to choose yourself. You were right about everything. So this is just you clearing your conscience. No, this is me making amends. Part of my treatment is acknowledging harm I've caused without expecting anything in return. Whether you forgive me or not, whether we ever speak again or not, you deserve to hear this. You deserve to know that none of it was your fault. You weren't too sensitive, too dramatic, too anything. I was broken, and I broke you repeatedly because I couldn't see you as real. I looked at this woman who shared my DNA but had caused me so much pain. For the first time, I saw her not as my tormentor but as genuinely sick, someone whose brain literally couldn't process empathy the way mine could. I don't forgive you, I said clearly. Not yet, maybe not ever, but I hear you, and I appreciate you taking accountability. That's more than I deserve, Victoria whispered. We talked for another hour. Victoria explained her treatment, the daily work of retraining her brain to consider others. She told me about losing her job, her apartment, most of her possessions. She was living with our parents, working part-time at a coffee shop, attending therapy 4 times a week. Trevor dropped the lawsuit, she said. I don't know if you knew that. I did. He told me. Her eyes widened slightly. You've stayed in touch with Trevor? We're friends. He's a good person who got caught in your destruction. Victoria nodded slowly. He is a good person. I didn't deserve him. I didn't deserve any of the people in my life. She paused. Are you two together? That's none of your business. You're right. I'm sorry. Old habits. She gave a sad smile. For what it's worth, he deserves someone like you. Someone real. As the session ended, Dr. Chen asked if I'd be willing to attend a family session with our parents. I agreed, with the same conditions as before. That session, 2 weeks later, was harder. My mother cried throughout, apologizing over and over for enabling Victoria's behavior, for sacrificing me to keep Victoria happy. My father sat silent for most of it, finally admitting that he'd never known how to handle 2 daughters, and had simply chosen to focus on the one who demanded more attention. We failed you, Mom said, mascara running down her face. We taught Victoria that bad behavior would be rewarded and taught you that good behavior would be ignored. We created this dynamic and then blamed you when you finally set boundaries. Do you understand why I stayed away from the wedding disaster? I asked them directly. Yes, Dad said. You'd been telling us for years that we were hurting you. We didn't listen until you stopped trying to make us listen. Will you make the same mistakes again? I asked. Mom shook her head vigorously. We're in therapy too, learning how to have healthy relationships with both our daughters, not just one. Both? I looked at Victoria. Are you two living together working? Victoria answered. It's hard. They're learning to hold me accountable instead of making excuses. I'm learning to accept consequences. We're all learning to be honest instead of comfortable. Over the following months, I cautiously allowed my family back into my life in limited doses. Monthly dinners became bi-weekly. Phone calls became slightly longer, but the boundaries remained firm. No guilt trips, no demands, no prioritizing Victoria's needs over mine. The most surprising development came 8 months after the wedding disaster. Trevor and I had continued our friendship. Coffee dates and occasional dinners where we talked about our healing processes. One evening, he kissed me. Not dramatically or desperately, just a soft, questioning kiss that asked if I was ready for something more. Is this a terrible idea? I asked, pulling back slightly. Probably, he admitted, but I've spent 8 months getting to know you outside of Victoria's chaos, and I genuinely like who you are, Emma. Not because of what happened, but despite it. We took it slowly, very slowly. Our first dates were careful, both of us hyper-aware of the complicated history. But as weeks turned into months, something real developed. Something that had nothing to do with Victoria and everything to do with 2 people who'd been through trauma and come out stronger. Victoria learned learned about our relationship through Diane. She called me that night. I heard about you and Trevor, she said without preamble, and I'm happy for you. Genuinely. He's a good man, and you deserve good things. You're not upset? I'm working really hard not to make everything about me, remember? Yes, there's a small part of me that's jealous, but the bigger, healthier part recognizes that I destroyed any claim I had to Trevor, and you two finding happiness isn't about me at all. It was the most mature thing I'd ever heard Victoria say. 1 year after the wedding disaster, Trevor and I attended a small dinner party at Diane's house. The gathering included several relatives who'd witnessed Victoria's meltdown and my subsequent absence. At one point, my Aunt Jennifer raised her glass. I'd like to make a toast to Emma, who taught us all that self-respect is more important than keeping the peace. Everyone drank to that, and I felt something shift inside me. My family was finally seeing me, really seeing me. As Trevor and I drove home that night, he reached for my hand. Do you ever regret not being there at the wedding? I thought about it honestly. No, that spa day was the first time I chose myself over family obligation. It set a pattern I followed ever since. If I'd gone to that wedding, tried to support Victoria despite being excluded, I'd still be trapped in that dynamic. So the disaster was actually liberation. Exactly. We drove in comfortable silence for a while. Then Trevor said, I'm glad she excluded you. Is that terrible to say? Why? Because if you'd been there, supporting her, I might have gone through with a marriage. I might have convinced myself the photos were fake or that everyone makes mistakes. Your absence was proof that something was fundamentally wrong, and it saved me. I squeezed his hand. We both got saved that day, just in different ways. The wedding disaster had been the beginning of my real life, the life where I mattered, where my needs were valid, where family was something I chose rather than something that trapped me. And as we pulled up to my apartment, Trevor walking me to my door, kissing me goodnight with genuine affection and respect, I realized something profound. The best revenge wasn't destruction or suffering. It was building a happy life with people who valued you. Victoria had spent a year losing everything, while I'd spent a year gaining everything that mattered. Karma, it turned out, was perfectly balanced after all. 18 months after the wedding disaster, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, holding a pregnancy test. 2 pink lines stared back at me, clear and undeniable. I was pregnant with Trevor's child. My hands shook as I set the test on the counter. This wasn't planned. Trevor and I had been dating for 10 months, living together for 3. We were happy, stable, building something real, but a baby? That changed everything. Trevor came home from work an hour later to find me sitting on the couch, test in hand, tears streaming down my face. Emma, what's wrong? He dropped his briefcase and rushed to my side. Then he saw the test. His eyes widened. Are you pregnant? Yes. He stared at the test, then at me, his expression unreadable. My heart hammered. We'd never discussed children, never planned for this moment. Then he smiled, slowly at first, then growing into a grin that transformed his whole face. We're having a baby? You're happy? Emma, I'm terrified and thrilled and completely unprepared, but yes, I'm happy. He pulled me into his arms. Are you happy? I thought about it honestly. I think so. It's unexpected, but with you, I think I can do this. That evening, we called our families. My parents reacted with cautious joy, aware that their enthusiasm needed to be measured given our complicated history. Trevor's parents were ecstatic, already planning nurseries and baby showers. I saved Victoria's call for last. She answered on the second ring. Emma, hi, what's up? I have news. I'm pregnant. Silence stretched between us. I braced myself for jealousy, for bitterness, for some version of the old Victoria to emerge. Oh my God, she finally said, her voice thick with emotion. Emma, that's wonderful. Congratulations. You mean it? Yes, I really do. She paused. Can I be honest about something? Always. There's a tiny part of me that's jealous. That's having the life I thought I wanted. But the bigger part, the healthier part, is genuinely happy for you. You're going to be an amazing mother. This baby is lucky to have you. Tears spilled down my cheeks. This was the sister I'd always wanted. Not perfect, but honest. Working on herself, choosing growth over comfort. Thank you, I whispered. When are you due? February 14th, actually. Victoria laughed. A Valentine's baby, of course. Everything you touch turns into something beautiful. We talked for 20 minutes about doctor's appointments, morning sickness, nursery colors, normal sister conversation, the kind we'd never really had before. As my pregnancy progressed, something unexpected happened. Victoria became one of my biggest supporters. She attended doctor's appointments when Trevor couldn't make it. She researched baby products obsessively, creating spreadsheets comparing prices and safety ratings. She threw me a simple but heartfelt baby shower with help from Diane. At the shower, surrounded by friends and family, I watched Victoria interact with guests. She'd changed so much. The attention-seeking behavior had diminished. She asked questions and actually listened to answers. She complimented others genuinely. She'd become, slowly and painfully, a person I could actually be around. My mother approached me during the shower. She's different, isn't she? Very different. It's because of you, you know. You setting boundaries, refusing to enable her, that forced all of us to change. If you'd forgiven her immediately after the wedding disaster, we'd all be right back where we started. I considered that. It wasn't my job to fix her, Mom. It was my job to protect myself. I know. And you did. And in doing so, you accidentally saved the rest of us too. 7 months into my pregnancy, Trevor proposed, not dramatically or publicly, just the two of us in our living room, surrounded by half-assembled baby furniture. Emma Richardson, he said, getting down on one knee, you've taught me what real love looks like. Not the performative kind, not the conditional kind, but the solid, everyday kind that shows up and does the work. Will you marry me? I looked at this man who'd been caught in Victoria's destruction and had somehow found his way to me. Yes, but I want a simple wedding. City Hall. Immediate family only. No drama. He laughed. I wouldn't have it any other way. We married 2 weeks later in a quiet ceremony at City Hall. My parents attended, crying happy tears. Diane was my witness. Trevor's parents beamed with joy, and Victoria, standing in the back, genuinely smiled when we kissed. No elaborate ceremony, no 200 guests, no room for chaos or disaster, just two people who'd been through hell and decided to build something better together. Our daughter, Claire, was born on Valentine's Day as predicted. 8 pounds, 6 ounces, with Trevor's dark hair and my blue eyes. Perfect and healthy and ours. Victoria visited us in the hospital, bringing flowers and a handmade baby blanket she'd spent months crocheting. She's beautiful, Victoria whispered, looking at Claire sleeping in my arms, just like her mother. Would you like to hold her? Victoria's eyes widened. Really? You'd let me? You're her aunt. Of course. I carefully transferred Claire into Victoria's arms. My sister looked down at my daughter with such tenderness, such genuine love, that I felt something inside me finally heal completely. I promise, Victoria said softly to Claire, I will never treat you the way I treated your mother. I will be the aunt you deserve, the family member who shows up, who supports you, who celebrates your joy without making it about me. I believe you, I said, and I meant it. The first year of Claire's life was exhausting and beautiful. Trevor and I stumbled through parenthood together, making mistakes and learning and growing. My parents visited weekly, doting on their granddaughter with appropriate boundaries. Victoria babysat occasionally, always respectful of our rules and schedules. On Claire's first birthday, we threw a small party in our backyard, balloons, a simple cake, family and close friends. As I watched Claire smash her face into frosting, Trevor's arm around my waist, surrounded by people who genuinely loved us, I thought about that day 2 years ago. The day I'd chosen a spa over a wedding. The day everything changed. If someone had told me then that Victoria's wedding disaster would lead to this, to genuine happiness and healthy family relationships and a life I loved, I wouldn't have believed them. But here I was, living proof that sometimes the worst moments become the best turning points. Trevor leaned down and kissed my temple. What are you thinking about? About how grateful I am that I wasn't invited to Victoria's wedding? He laughed. That's still the strangest thing to be grateful for. Maybe, but it's true. That rejection forced me to choose myself, and choosing myself led to everything I have now. Victoria approached us, Claire in her arms, covered in pink frosting. I think your daughter is done with her cake. I took Claire from her, wiping frosting off her chubby cheeks. Thank you for being here, Victoria, for being present and healthy and real. Thank you for giving me another chance, she replied. Not everyone would have. You earned it. By doing the work, by changing, by showing up consistently. That's what mattered. As the party wound down, family members started leaving. My mother hugged me tightly before she left. I'm so proud of you, Emma, of the mother you've become, the wife you are, the boundaries you've maintained. You've shown us all what strength looks like. After everyone left, Trevor and I cleaned up while Claire napped in her crib. As we wiped down tables and picked up wrapping paper, I felt a profound sense of contentment. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if things went differently? Trevor asked. If Victoria had invited you to the wedding, if I'd never received those photos, if we'd gotten married, sometimes, but I don't think you would have been happy, and I definitely wouldn't be where I am now. So you really don't regret any of it? The exclusion, the pain, the family drama? I thought about it carefully. I regret that Victoria had to hurt so many people, including herself, before she could get help. I regret the years I wasted trying to earn love that should have been freely given, but the outcomes? No, I don't regret those. This life, this family we built, it's exactly what I needed. That night, after Claire was asleep and Trevor was reading in bed, I stood in our nursery, watching my daughter breathe in the soft glow of her nightlight. 2 years ago, I'd been the excluded sister, the invisible daughter, the person who didn't matter enough to invite to a wedding. Now I was a mother, a wife, a woman with boundaries and self-respect and genuine relationships. I'd lost a toxic family dynamic and gained a healthy one. I'd lost the illusion of unconditional love and gained the reality of earned respect. The wedding disaster hadn't destroyed me. It had revealed me. And in that revelation, I'd found myself. As I turned to leave the nursery, my phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. Thank you for today. For letting me be part of Claire's life. For giving me a chance to be better. I know I don't deserve it, but I promise I'll keep earning it. Love you, sis. I smiled and typed back, love you too. Keep doing the work. Because that was the real ending to this story. Not revenge, not destruction, not even forgiveness in the traditional sense. Just people doing the work to become better. Boundaries being respected. And life moving forward in a healthier direction. Victoria would always be my sister. But now she was a sister who'd learned that actions have consequences, that people aren't disposable, that love requires effort and respect. And I would always be me. But now I was a version of myself who knew her worth, who demanded respect, who chose peace over performance. The wedding disaster was 2 years behind us, but the lessons it taught would last forever. 3 years after the wedding disaster, I sat at a coffee shop with Trevor, Claire playing with blocks on the floor beside us. My phone buzzed with a notification. Victoria had posted on social media for the first time in over a year. I opened it, curious. It was a photo of her at a volunteer center, surrounded by teenagers. The caption read, 2 years working with at-risk youth, teaching them about accountability, consequences, and second chances. Grateful for the opportunity to turn my mistakes into meaning. Trevor leaned over to look. She really has changed, hasn't she? She has. It took losing everything, but yes, she finally did the work. Victoria had spent the past 2 years rebuilding her life from scratch. After completing intensive therapy, she'd started volunteering with troubled teenagers, sharing her story as a cautionary tale. She'd gone back to school for a degree in social work. She lived in a modest apartment, drove an old car, and had a small circle of genuine friends who knew her full story and supported her growth. We saw her regularly now. Not the performative, obligation-based visits of the past, but actual quality time. She'd take Claire to the park, always bringing her back exactly when promised. She'd attend family dinners and contribute meaningfully to conversations without dominating them. She'd become, slowly and painfully, someone I could trust. My mother had also transformed. She attended therapy consistently, worked on her codependency issues, and learned to treat both her daughters with equal respect. She'd stopped making excuses for Victoria's past behavior and started holding herself accountable for enabling it. My father remained the quietest about his growth, but his actions spoke volumes. He called me weekly just to check in. No agenda or favors needed. He'd taken Claire to the zoo twice, creating grandfather-granddaughter memories. He'd apologized more in the past 3 years than in my entire life before. Our family wasn't perfect. We probably never would be, but we were healthier, more honest, more real. One afternoon, Victoria called me unexpectedly. "Emma, can we meet? I have something I need to tell you." We met at our regular coffee shop, the same place where I'd first reconnected with Trevor after the wedding disaster. Victoria arrived looking nervous, fidgeting with her coffee cup. "What's going on?" I asked. "I've been offered a job, a really good one. Social work position in Seattle, working with youth from dysfunctional families. It's everything I've been working toward." "That's wonderful, Victoria. Congratulations." "There's more. I've been seeing someone. His name is Daniel. He's a teacher, volunteers at the same youth center I do. He knows everything about my past, the wedding disaster, the personality disorder, all of it. And he loves me anyway." I felt genuine happiness for her. "I'm so glad you found someone good. He's nothing like Trevor was, or Marcus. He's kind and patient, and he calls me out when I slip into old patterns. He makes me want to be better, not because he demands it, but because he deserves better." She paused. "We're moving to Seattle together, for the job and for a fresh start." I processed this. Victoria leaving Portland felt significant, like the final chapter closing on our old dynamic. "Are you running away?" I asked gently. "No, I'm running toward something, toward a career that gives me purpose, toward a relationship built on honesty, toward a version of myself that isn't defined by my worst moments." She looked at me directly. "But I need to know something first. Are we okay, you and me? Because I can't leave with things unresolved." I thought about the past 3 years, the therapy sessions, the accountability, the consistent effort Victoria had made to become someone trustworthy, the way she'd shown up for Claire's first birthday, every milestone, the way she'd supported my marriage without jealousy or resentment. "We're okay," I said. "We're not where we were before everything fell apart. We're somewhere different, somewhere better, actually. You're finally the sister I always wanted, and I'm finally your sister instead of your support system." Tears filled Victoria's eyes. "Thank you for not giving up on me even when I gave you every reason to, for setting boundaries that forced me to grow up, for letting me be part of your family even after I tried to exclude you from mine. You did the work, Victoria. I just held the boundary. The transformation was all you." We hugged, and it felt different from any hug we'd shared before. Equal, real, two adults who'd been through trauma and come out on the other side. Victoria moved to Seattle 2 months later. We stayed in touch through video calls, texts, and occasional visits. She'd send photos of her work with teenagers, updates about Daniel, stories of her new life. She never once asked for money or favors, never created drama or demanded attention. On Claire's 3rd birthday, Victoria sent a package. Inside was a photo album she'd created, documenting the past 3 years. Photos of Claire as a baby, Victoria holding her in the hospital, Claire's first birthday party, family dinners, park visits. Every moment Victoria had been present and healthy. The last page contained a handwritten letter. "Dear Claire, by the time you're old enough to read this, you'll know your Aunt Victoria as someone kind and stable. But there was a time when I wasn't those things. Your mother gave me a second chance I didn't deserve, and I've spent every day trying to earn it. Remember this, people can change if they're willing to do the difficult work, and family means showing up consistently, not just when it's convenient. Love always, Aunt Victoria." I cried reading it, not from sadness, but from recognition of how far we'd all come. That evening, Trevor found me on our back porch, letter in hand. "You okay?" "Better than okay. I'm grateful." "For what?" "For Victoria's wedding disaster, for being excluded, for every painful moment that led to this." I gestured at our home, at Claire playing inside, at the life we'd built. None of this happens if Victoria had invited me to her wedding. I'd probably still be trapped in that toxic dynamic, trying to earn love that should have been freely given. Trevor sat beside me, taking my hand. "It's strange how the worst day of her life became the beginning of your best life, and eventually hers too. She lost everything but gained something more valuable: self-awareness, accountability, the ability to have real relationships." We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint our backyard in gold and pink. Inside, Claire sang to herself, creating elaborate stories with her toys. Upstairs, the nursery we'd just finished preparing waited for our second child due in 4 months. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Dinner next Sunday? Victoria is visiting from Seattle and wants to see everyone." I typed back, "We'll be there. No anxiety, no dread. Just simple acceptance of a family gathering with people who'd learned to treat each other with respect." 4 years after the wedding disaster, I'd built a life I never could have imagined. A marriage based on genuine partnership. A daughter who would grow up watching healthy boundaries modeled. Parents who'd learned to love both children equally. A sister who'd done the painful work of becoming someone worth having in my life. The story that began with exclusion and humiliation had transformed into something unexpectedly beautiful. Not because everyone got what they wanted, but because everyone got what they needed: consequences, accountability, growth, and the opportunity to become better. Victoria's perfect wedding day had lasted 0 minutes. My imperfect but genuine life had lasted every day since. And as I sat there on my porch, Trevor Trevor's hand in mine, Claire's laughter drifting through the open door, I realized something profound. The best revenge isn't destruction or suffering or even forgiveness. The best revenge is building a life so fulfilling that the people who hurt you become irrelevant to your happiness. They'd tried to make me feel small by excluding me. Instead, they'd freed me to become bigger than they ever imagined. I whispered to the universe, to karma, to whatever force had orchestrated this transformation, thank you for that wedding disaster. Thank you for showing me who people really were. Thank you for forcing me to choose myself. And in the gentle evening breeze, I could have sworn I heard the universe whisper back, "You're welcome. Now go live your beautiful life." So I did. Have you ever experienced a moment where rejection turned into the best thing that could have happened to you? Have you had to set boundaries with toxic family members who only valued you when they needed something? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who's struggling with similar family betrayal. And if this story resonated with you, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for listening to my journey, and thank you for being here until the end.